Hi everyone, this video is to welcome you to our online English 300 course for this summer 2017. So I am Dr. Jeffrey Way. I will be your instructor for the course, and this video is designed to give you a kind of brief overview of the course, the expectations, that kind of stuff as you start looking at the class. And so this will be kind of an overview of the syllabus. I won't touch on everything in the syllabus or everything on the course site. So part of your first assignment is to do a look through the syllabus, do a syllabus quiz, kind of get a little bit more familiar with the policies. And if you aren't ever clear about anything or anything like that, please send me an email and let me know. So I'm going to go through kind of some of the key things I think are good to point out early on in this course, especially given that it's a very fast-paced 8-week course. So like I said, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Way. You can just call me Dr. Way. I am in the end of, I guess, my first year here at Washburn. I just finished up my first full year, my first summer here at Washburn in Kansas. So I do Shakespeare and digital media in terms of my own stuff and the other classes I teach, but I teach a lot of composition as well. And so this course is designed really to kind of build on the concepts that you've worked on in English 101 and really get you to a point where you're competent and skilled moving into your field in terms of the research you'll need to do and the expectations and writing for those particular audiences and things like that. So since this is an online course, I don't plan on being on campus regularly during the summer. I may be there occasionally, so you can always at least try. If you want to set up a one-on-one meeting, let me know. I might be around and can set up a time. Otherwise, I'm glad to talk with you whenever you need to via Zoom, which I'll talk about more in a few minutes. So we can always set up a one-on-one meeting. If you just have a quick question, point of clarification, something like that, the best way to get a hold of me is via email. I will be checking my email regularly during the summer, at least once or twice a day during the week. It might be a little bit longer on weekends, but as it says in the syllabus, if you email me, I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, usually 24 hours, if not a lot less during the week, unless it's at night and I'm asleep or something like that. But so I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I'm glad to help out. So please, if you have questions, if you're not clear about things, send me an email, let me know. There is also a general issues discussion board up on D2L on our course site where you can post any questions. Please take advantage of that as well. I'll try to check that regularly. A lot of times, if you have a question that you're not sure about, you're probably not the only person, so it's good to ask that, and I can respond to that in the open forum, and then everybody can see the answer for that. So otherwise, this is a writing intensive course, so there's expectations that you'll be doing a lot of reading and a lot of writing for this class. Kind of basic stuff you should have taken 101 or 102 with a C or better. You need to have 54 credit hours, assuming you're all enrolled already. This shouldn't be an issue. I'm not going to go over the course outcomes here, but you can notice that on the first page of the syllabus, kind of what the specific expectations for the class are and what the skills are that you're going to be getting out of it. There is only one book, and I sent out an email a couple days ago with this information as well. I do believe still the bookstore has 2 books listed for our course. You only need one. This was originally being taught by another instructor, and then I needed to kind of come in and pick up the class. So the one book you need is Everything's an Argument. That's the 7th edition. It's listed on the syllabus. It was one of the 2 books that the original instructor required. I only require the brief edition. There is a longer edition. It's got readings. It's a little bit more expensive. I always try to go with the cheapest one. Obviously, I don't care. You can get the print version. You can get the ebook version. You can go through the bookstore. You can go through Amazon. However you get it is fine, just as long as you have a copy of it to look at and use for the course. Beyond that, the only other things you need to have Microsoft Word, which if you haven't already gotten the Microsoft Office suite through Washburn, you can do that. If you just kind of go to the website and Washburn's website and search Microsoft Office, it'll tell you can find the instructions for how to get that information and get that program. So it gives you everything, including Microsoft Word. You do need that for the course because there's a couple of features you'll need to use for the peer review activities in particular that you need to have Microsoft Word for. So Beyond that, you obviously need to be able to access D2L regularly, since everything you're going to be doing is online through our D2L course site. Other supplies, you should be checking your Washburn email daily during the week. If I need to get in touch with you individually about an assignment or something, I will send you an email at that address. And I do expect that if I email you, you reply to my email in a timely manner. So you need to be checking that regularly. If I email you something sensitive about turning an assignment late or something like that, and you don't see it, and then later say, well, I never saw it, that is on you and not on me. So make sure you're checking your email regularly. I will also be posting usually at least once a week, maybe twice a week, announcements on D2L with what you need to be doing during a given week, assignments and that kind of stuff. If there's any significant information or changes that need to be made or announcements, I'll put them there. So make sure you're looking at that regularly as well. Another thing with D2L access, obviously, is you need access to a computer with an internet connection regularly, so you can get online, access the content, complete the assignments, submit it, all that kind of stuff. So the only other thing I recommend is you have access to a college level dictionary or thesaurus. So dictionary.com, thesaurus.com, these are both great resources. They're free. You can get the apps on your phone. The dictionary is pretty straightforward, but should be used by more people more often to make sure you actually know what the word is that you're using. The thesaurus is great. It's a tool I use all the time. You find yourself using the same word over and over again in a paper, you go to the thesaurus, you know, and kind of see what synonyms are there, what might work, how to kind of vary up your word choice. So most of the stuff is either free or online or available. So the only thing you really need to purchase is the textbook itself. So I'm not going to go over the course methodology, but you can kind of see the breakdown of different types of assignments that you'll be doing for the course, some of which I'll talk about more in just a minute. So the method of evaluation, or in other words, kind of how your grade is broken down, you'll see on the bottom of page 2, and there's also a chart on the intro D2L page or section that says EN 300 tracking your progress, has the breakdown of all the different assignments in the course and the point breakdown for each assignment. So there's a total of 500 points in the course, and you'll notice there's 5 points for class participation, which is just an initial icebreaker you'll have to do the first day of class. And then there are several learning activities, which are kind of the smaller assignments throughout each unit. There are 3 major writing projects, which I'll get to more in just a minute. The rhetorical analysis, the community-based argument, and the research paper and final portfolio. And then you have peer review activities that you'll be completing with each paper. And again, I'll talk about that more in just a minute. And then the final is a couple of reflective assignments throughout the class. So you can see the point breakdowns. Each of the 3 major writing projects is, the first 2 are worth 100 points each, and the second one, the research paper and final portfolio, is worth 150 points total. So those, as I grade things, those points will be up on D2L. You can always access that, and kind of, if you have questions about where you stand on your grade currently, anything like that, you can always let me know. The grading scale for individual assignments, I grade on a plus-minus scale, and you can kind of see the point breakdown there. Do be aware that Washburn only does whole letter grades for the final course grade, so your grade will just be based off whatever points you get total out of that breakdown there. So I'm not going to go over the specifics of the course schedule. You can kind of look at that on your own. It's on the syllabus. There's also a calendar with things broken down as well. And then in the course site itself, things are broken down with different due dates and that kind of stuff. But this is to give you kind of a sense of what you need to be doing, the expectations when things are due, that kind of stuff. So you know, definitely take a look at it, make sure you're on top of things, because we're going to move pretty quickly throughout the first couple of units, and really honestly throughout the entire class. You want to make sure you're aware of when you have work and when it needs to be done. So a couple of things I will say kind of generally, for the most part, you will have this first week, you'll have something due the first day, Tuesday of the class, and then something Wednesday, and then something Friday. And then every week after that, the deadlines for assignments are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So you'll see that on the calendar and on the syllabus schedule. So that's to kind of give you an opportunity to work through the chapters, work through each assignment. In a couple of places, you'll notice there are a couple days where you might have 2 things due on a day. And again, there should be plenty of time to work on all that stuff and keep on top of that. So the course is basically broken down. There's the first 2 weeks are our first unit. The second 2 weeks are the second unit, and then the next 3 weeks are the third unit, and then the final week is devoted to working on your final portfolio. So we moved pretty quickly through the papers. It's just the nature of an 8-week summer class. That's how it's going to go. So be aware of that. There are a couple of things. I will have a video that introduces each of the major writing projects in the final portfolio. So I'll get into more specifics with each of those there. But just a note that I do a process approach to writing projects, which means I'm going to ask early on in a unit for a topic paragraph that I will look at and respond to, as well as at least 1, if not 2 drafts, depending on the project of the paper, before you turn in the final draft. We will also have a peer review component, again, which I'll come back to in a minute, with each assignment as well, that you'll be working into. So the idea here is that you'll have a lot of feedback along the way, and you'll have a lot of ideas that you'll be able to kind of work with before you turn in that final draft. You can try stuff out, that kind of stuff. You know, and in terms of topic paragraphs, in terms of drafts, the only thing that I'm looking for, source lists, things like that, is just that they're complete. There might be 1 or 2 other expectations, like when we get to a source list or annotated bibliography in one of the later units, those will have a couple more guidelines you'll need to follow. But really, especially with drafts, I'm just looking that you have a draft. I'm not grading in terms there of content, you know, finesse, completion, anything like that, just that you have a draft for the peer review activity. So you'll notice on D2L there are a couple of, for those process steps, you can't submit something later in the process until you've gotten feedback on the previous steps. So you'll always submit a topic paragraph first, and you won't be able to submit the draft, the source list, whatever comes next, until you get feedback from me on your topic paragraph. Now that'll usually come the next day after you submit. And if that isn't the case, if something happens and I need to delay it, we'll work with that accordingly. But this is just so you get my feedback before you move on to the next step, because it may be that your topic doesn't work, it needs to be refined, or maybe your sources, some of them are good, but you need others before you should start working on your draft, things like that. So just be aware about those steps as we hit them. So kind of moving on down the syllabus, you can look through the sections on the tech requirements. You know, basically, you're using D2L. As they recommend, and I recommend, Mozilla Firefox is definitely probably the best browser for working in D2L. I'm not really sure why that is, but it's the one I've had the most success in. I don't find that Chrome or Internet Explorer / Microsoft Edge tend to work well. And I don't have a Mac, so I can't really talk much about Safari, but I definitely recommend Firefox. A lot of times if you're having trouble working with D2L, if you switch to Firefox, a lot of those, if not all of them, go away. In terms of the what it says there under the virtual classroom, so since I won't be on campus a lot, I do want to be available regularly, and if you would like to set up a time to meet and talk about a writing project, anything in the class, I'm glad to do that. And what I use is called Zoom. And you notice there's a link right there, and the nice thing about that link is it's pretty easy. You click it, and it will just open up a video chat window for you that we can talk. I'm not going to be having any necessarily regular office hours in the class this semester, just because it's a summer class, and I'm sure like you, my schedule is going to be a little all over the place with things coming up. But if you would like to meet with me, just send me an email and let me know what days and times work for you, and I'll get back to you and we'll set up a time that works. I'm pretty flexible in terms of your schedules, that some of you may be working, things like that. Oh, which does remind me, just in terms of individual assignments, you'll note all of them tend to be due at the very end of the day. So usually a deadline, I think, for everything basically is 11:59 p.m. So for the first day of class, you'll have the syllabus quiz and the icebreaker or the course introduction that are both due by 11:59 p.m. And that's just kind of allow you the whole day to work with your schedule and get things in, because I know some of you might be working during the day, get things in at night or vice versa, all that kind of stuff. So But yeah, so if you need to set up a time to meet with me, and you can do that as many times as you'd like, and I definitely encourage you to do so. I'm always glad, and I find it beneficial for me too to be able to talk instead of just kind of talk back and forth via email about things. So you can look over the minimum technical skill, technical support stuff in the syllabus, online education support. Basically, that kind of covers a lot of the resources available to you if you have questions about working with D2L, things like that, that kind of stuff. So so look over that. In terms of the expectations you should have of me. So like I said, I will be available. I'm glad to set up a time to meet with you. I will be on D2L regularly to be answering questions, providing feedback, that kind of stuff. So as it says there, during the week, I will get back to you within 24 hours unless something is really, I don't know, something happens. But I'll let you know too if I'm going to be away for a day or two. I will post an announcement on D2L and let you know. But usually I'll get back to you within 24 hours, and we will, we can have an exchange or set up a meeting if we need to. It might be a little bit longer on the weekends, just a heads up there, or holidays. The only holiday I think that really affects us is Independence Day, July 4th. So, but yeah, I will be available during the summer, so please contact me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So basically, stuff works in the class. You'll be submitting stuff and working on stuff Monday through Friday. I don't have any deadlines over the weekend to give you kind of time to work on that or take a breather. But so basically, once you post things, I will try to get them back to you. Ideally within 24 hours, might be 48 hours. Occasionally, just kind of depends on, again, things going on in my day-to-day life. I will say with the major writing projects, those tend to take a little bit longer, but you will definitely have them back in a week, if not sooner. And you'll get feedback from me both in terms of you'll get in-text comments in a Microsoft Word document, as well as kind of a rubric breakdown on the different elements that I'm grading the assignment for. So now, my expectations of you. So attendance and participation. Since this is an online course, that attendance and participation are basically based on you being on D2L and completing the assignment. So I do have the ability to kind of look and see when you last logged on, and obviously you're turning in things usually at 3 different points during the week. So if you start missing regular deadlines, you're going to be hit accordingly. So I want to point out the deadlines are especially important when we do peer reviews. So the peer review activities are basically where you will be submitting a draft of your paper to a group of your classmates, and they'll be completing a peer review activity and giving you, a couple sets of feedback they're going to help you in revising your paper before you turn in the final draft. So that being said, those deadlines are firm, both the initial deadline where you are expected to post your draft to the discussion board, and then the deadline for completing and providing the feedback on the peer review activity to your classmates. So those are firm deadlines. They don't really get to change at all, and there is no way to move those around. So be aware of those. You'll obviously know I will have announcements out there kind of reminding you what's going on. But those deadlines are important because it's not just you submitting something on time to me, it's your classmates waiting on you to complete the peer review activity. So make sure, especially those times, you're getting things in and posted on time. If you start to miss those regularly, I'll contact you about whether you should think about staying in the course or not if you can't keep up with those deadlines. So do note that technical difficulties are not an excuse for late work, especially in an online class. So if you wait till 11:58 every night to submit something, and 1 or 2 nights your computer breaks down or whatever, then that's not a valid excuse. So as I always say, even to my face-to-face students, when you submit stuff online, give yourself a little bit of time, make sure everything looks good, things like that. So if for some reason you can't, you feel like you're gonna have to miss a period of time, or something major happens, get in touch with me and let me know, and we'll see if we can work something out. So as it says there, all the course materials, unless otherwise noted, and there are a lot of YouTube videos that I link to that are really helpful that are not my own. So those are usually cited and the links are on D2L, but anything I've kind of put together is my property, so make sure you treat it as such. You can copy it says for personal study purposes only, but don't share them with others. If you feel like you want to give it to somebody else for some reason, whatever that may be, just talk to me first. So in terms of late assignments, the learning activities during the week, things like that really can't be turned in late. So if you miss a deadline, you're not going to be able to submit it late. If you happen to miss one, that is not too bad. But if you miss multiple, that's going to start to affect your grade. That's going to go back, and I'm going to look at your participation there as well. Since you do have to submit all 3 major writing projects for the course, there is a late policy for submitting those major writing projects. So let's say you have the rhetorical analysis, but you feel like you need another day to work on it. And so what I always recommend is that if you let me know ahead of time that you feel like you're struggling to meet a final draft deadline or something like that, send me an email. It may be, and I do have a policy that where you can ask for an extension if there's legitimate circumstances. So, get in touch with me first. But if you don't get in touch with me, or if you don't have a valid reason and I don't provide an extension, each calendar day that you submit the paper late, it is 10 points off. It's basically the whole letter grade off the assignment. So if it's due, and I think most, if not all of them, are due on Monday. So if it's due Monday night and I don't get it till Wednesday night, that's 20 points off your paper before I ever look at and start grading the paper. So the big thing is communicate with me. If you feel like you're going to have trouble with the deadline, let me know. But otherwise, you need to make sure that you get things in on time, because otherwise those penalties will start coming in. And the reason for that is because you have to submit all 3 major writing projects for the class. So expectations, academic dishonesty, plagiarism, basic rule is don't do it. Hands down, that's the easiest thing to say. Because if you plagiarize, the best case scenario is that you will fail an assignment. The worst case scenario is that you will fail the class and I may report your name higher up and things like that. So basically just don't do it. If you're having trouble with an assignment, if you're not sure how to cite something, anything like that, let me know. I'm glad to help out however I can. But you are expected to do these things and do them on your own. So it needs to be your work. And you'll be working more on issues with plagiarism and things like that a little bit as we get into the unit. So in terms of the writing projects, as I mentioned, there are 3 major writing projects for the class, as well as a final portfolio. So there will be as I said, a video introducing each assignment in more detail. Definitely watch those as you start each unit, so you have an idea about the expectations of what you should be doing for that unit in the class. So the first writing project, the one we're going to be jumping into right away, is the rhetorical analysis. And that is worth 20% of your, I think it's about 20% of your course grade. The second project is the community-based argument. That's another 20%. And then project 3 and the final portfolio kind of go hand in hand. So the research paper is your 3rd major writing project. It's longer, it's a little bit more intense. And then the final portfolio is something that all composition courses at Washburn do, and that's basically putting together all your work. There are a couple of extra expectations, a revised version of at least one of your papers, and then a reflective cover letter. And these are all things that I will talk about more when I introduce the final portfolio. They're on those assignment sheets, things like that. So you will notice it is right there in the syllabus at the bottom of page 10, there is a format for submitting files for major assignments, and that is your last name, first initial, period, and then the course assignment. So for me, it would be Way G, period, rhetorical analysis, or whatever. So so make sure you follow that. Peer reviews, as I mentioned, we will have 4 of those throughout the course, 1 for the first 2 units, and there are 2 for the final unit, since the research essay is a little bit more intense. So there are steps for that, and look over the steps when we get closer. There will be some things for the first peer reviews, materials I want you to review and things like that. But again, that is where other people are waiting on you to get your stuff posted so they can complete an activity. So make sure you're meeting those deadlines on time. There is also a couple reflective assignments. A couple of those are early. That's the syllabus quiz and the personal writing history that you'll have in the first couple of days. And then at the end of each unit, the first 2 units, I usually ask that you do a short reflection and just kind of think about the work you've done, especially in a course that moves this quickly. So the final portfolio, as I mentioned, is worth 30% of your overall course grade. 20% of that roughly is the research essay component of it. The other 10% are the other elements. We'll get into that more as we get closer, but do be aware that you are working towards that. You are, in the whole class with each project, you're working towards building your final portfolio for the class. So, as I already mentioned, email expectations. I expect that you are checking your email regularly during the week. You're staying on top of things, that kind of stuff. So also at the bottom, you'll see the link there to the Washburn Master Syllabus editions. If you've been at Washburn before, you should be familiar with these things. None of that should be new, but definitely check them out. Make sure you're aware with those policies, and let me know if you have any questions. So I think that's kind of the basic rundown. You notice when you get on D2L, it's broken up into the different units. The deadlines are at the top, and most of it should hopefully be accessible and navigable and self-explanatory. But please, if you have questions, if you're not sure about something, let me know. Especially too, if I've gone through and I've checked right before the class starts that everything is up and available. But if you happen to come across a video that I've linked to on YouTube that isn't there anymore, please let me know. Because sometimes links go dead, sometimes videos get moved, things like that. So if you have any trouble accessing any material or anything like that, let me know. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me. Want to set up a meeting, whatever. I can't stress enough that I am here and I'm available. My goal and my desire is to help you succeed, and I will do whatever I can to make that happen. So, otherwise, I look forward to seeing and reading and working with you and your materials throughout the class. So, good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.